Good day. This is a strategy and a global competitive market environment assignment 1 presented by Joshua Dalami Kassem, an MBA data analytics student of the University of Bedfordshire. The presentation will cover the industry scope, the trend, theoretical framework, as well as the scenario grid. The UK automobile industry over the years has continued to play a very pivotal role in the economic development of the country, creating over £78 billion in turnover. With over 30 manufacturers, we were able to producing over 70 different models of vehicles. In 2019 alone, the UK was able to build 1.3 million cars, which is a very good number, and 2.5 million engines, directly employing over 180,000 persons in the manufacturing, with an excess of 864,000 others in the wider industry. This sector accounts for 13% of the UK export, which is worth £44 billion, which is a lot indeed. And basically, out of the 8 out of the 10 cars produced in the UK are basically for export in over 160 markets worldwide. And this is the general chart, the flow chart of the UK automobile industry, with 4 commercial vehicle manufacturing, 11 engine manufacturers, 20 research and development centers, among others. The trend of the industry basically is centered around electrified vehicles, autonomous vehicles, shared vehicles, connectivity of the vehicle, and then the yearly update. These are the trends that govern the industry as it is. The key question we want to address at the end of this presentation is, how will the automotive industry look like in the next 5 to 6 years, if we can actually forecast it at the end of the day? The theoretical framework that governs this industry as it is that I want to use in this analysis is the PESTEL analysis, which has to do with the political, economic, social, technological, legal environment. With the political environment presently, whenever the issue of politics is mentioned in the United Kingdom, Brexit comes to mind. Whether the soft or the hard Brexit, all has a way of affecting this industry, have a great impact on this industry. The trade restriction, tariffs, safety regulation, emission policies, these are political decisions that is beyond the control of the industry. Then the economic environment, which has to do with interest rate, inflation, disposable income, all has a way of affecting this industry directly or indirectly. We have the technological aspect, which we look at things like the self-driving cars, improved safety. The legal issues, we look at copyright issues, car and road taxes, environmentally focused legislation. All these are issues that are within the macro framework of this industry that the industry doesn't really have control over. The industry disruptors basically create uncertainties. The disruptors that actually create uncertainties within this industry are technology, globalization, as well as the changing values of its market and customers. And these uncertainties are around the prices of the vehicles and each component. We cannot really say in the next 5 years what would be the prices of these vehicles or component. How will the government stability be like? Is it going to be stable? Will the government policy, is it going to be stable? We are not really sure about. Consumer trend is also an uncertain destination that one will have to look like. Technological adoption, population growth, traffic density, economic growth. These are the uncertainties that govern that surround the automotive industry within the UK and even beyond. So these uncertainties will help us to be able to determine our scenario in the future. Then the drivers of the future we are looking at in this automotive industry basically has to do with the demography, which is the population, the economy, the environment, and technology. The economy can be good, but if we don't have a population that can patronize our commodity, our product, the automotive product, then it is as well as useless. We can have viable technology, but if the economy is not there to drive it, it's as well as useless. So these drivers of the future we are looking at are these 4 components I've highlighted here. Then the scenario, basically we have the change maker scenario, we have the indifferent scenario, we have the onlooker scenario, we have the hopeful scenario. The change makers are geared towards innovation, adoption of innovation and technology, as well as flourishing economy. I use these 2 dimensions, basically innovation and technology, and the economy, because innovation is basically what drives the automotive industry. Automotive industry is built on innovation and technology, as well as the economy is what run this industry in itself. So these two dimensions I've taken in opposing direction are geared towards helping us to arrive at a better understanding of how the future will look at the future scenario will actually look like. So the change maker scenario, these are the innovation created automobiles. We have no environmental automobiles that have no environmental effect. We have robust economy that can run this industry in itself. We have buyers that can afford it. Why? Because the economy is flourishing and as well as the innovation is there. So we have people that have disposable income that can afford this vehicle and then this industry, the product of the industry, as well as buy it. We have the safety is being maintained because technology will ensure that the safety is being maintained. Why the indifferent scenario is the fund in this indifferent scenario, we have the funds are not even there. Why? The funds are there but are not being utilized. Why? Because there is no innovation. People don't want to take the risk. They are just indifferent about it. They don't want to take the risk. So the funds is there, but it is not being utilized. And then there's early buyers. The early buyers take the risk because the little that has been done, they are not so certain about the technology. They are not so sure about the safety of it. So they take the risk. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, fine. Then the next scenario, which is the quadrant, the down left quadrant, is the onlooker, which I titled the onlookers quadrant. In this particular one, we have limit because the economy is poor and then there's no innovation. There's going to be limited development in the industry, and then the few players in this industry are bound. I stand the chance of leaving the industry for a better place that supports to other locations that support their drive, either to adopt the technology as well as to have the market. While the hopeful quadrant, which is the top left-hand quadrant, in this particular one, I target the hopeful quadrant. Why? Because while buyers are not motivated to switch, because while the economy is poor and then there's the adoption, yes, there's the adoption of technology, but buyers don't have the drive to switch away from the status quo. They want to rather maintain what they have been used to. They don't want to go for new technology. Then there's the need to reduce price for the technology that has been adopted. For it to sell, there's a need to reduce price for it to be able to go, for it to be able to actually go through, for us to have sales. And then there's no sufficient fund to drive this innovation. Why? Because the economy is actually not in a good shape. So this first scenario, we have the flourishing business. They stand a better chance to gain return on investment. Therefore, company can sink in resources while the economy is flourishing. They can sink in resources in order for us to have the electrified cars, the autonomous cars, the shared connected cars, and all of those. The market is ripe with employment, and then the growing disposable income for people who can match the supply for people who can demand the product that we have been produced by this industry to match the supply that has been made for it. Why the next scenario is that there's this fear of the unknown. They don't want to take the risks. Why? Because it is better, it is safer for them to be where they are used to. They don't want to take the risk. The technology is not there. The technology is actually not there. Though the economy is flourishing, but the technology is not actually there. So they are not too sure. They rather keep their funds for a sure business model other than the technology that has been rolled over that they are not be able to, they can't predict. They are not sure of the possibility, the return on their investment in the next 5 years. So why would they take the risk? So they would rather want to stay back, lay back, and then hold on to keep watching to see what becomes of it. Why? Because they don't know if they can be able to recoup their investment in the shortest possible time. Should in case the technology change, what becomes the impact on their investment? So this scenario, look at this second scenario, tend to shy away from it, tend to be indifferent about taking the decision itself. The third scenario, which has to do with the poor scenario, which has to do with the poor setting. There is a poor setting, poor background rather. We are too poor to achieve anything meaningful. So these people thought of themselves, so they can't. What can one possibly do in a poor economy? Because the economy is actually poor. So all they care about is survival rather than going into technology that they don't really know anything about, technology that they are not too sure about. They want to rather survive. Survival is the key in this particular scenario. So if survival is key, they don't know if there is going to be a next pandemic or a next wave of pandemic that is going to disrupt them. So rather than go for the technology, they rather go for anything that will keep them alive and active. And then the fourth scenario is that although efforts are trying to innovative technology has fallen, in this particular, it has fallen on hard rocks. Reason being that the few breakthrough that have been attained there's no market enough. There's no market for the technology to be able to break even, to be able to break costs. So at the end of the day, investors, firms are bound to leave the environment to relocate to other viable locations that can help drive their business costs. So attain their business goals. So for this reason, this particular scenario tend to hinder development, because there's actually the room for development, but there's no market enough, there's no resources enough to gear them towards achieving the market objective of the industry in the first place. So for that reason, it would rather not scale through. So the possibility coin look at the past, the present, and then the future. The truth is that you cannot really say with certainty that this is what is going to happen in the future. So what the possibility coin help us to attain is that there are different options that are possible. However, the change makers scenario tend to have a more realistic dimension that one can really hope on to attaining the goal. So for that reason, that option can possibly sell in the next future, the next UK market, automobile market, the next 5-10 years to come. We are likely to see more of innovation, more of economic booming, because government keep pumping money to sustain this industry, to make sure that they are being protected and the rest of that. So we hope to see a more viable industry in the next coming years. Thank you.